Greetings, everyone. It's your boy Fratello. Last astrological video I made was a brief overview over the transits happening in 2026, and as promised, I'm going more in depth just before each transit, what we might expect and what we can see here, what is happening. I've been hinting towards something that seems akin to the Civil War, the U.S. Civil War, and that's what I want to look on in depth here in this video. So this transit is coming up on the 26th this month, and just before, so anyone who doesn't know me, I am Fratello. I am a magician, astrologer, read cards. I'm learning to read runes and other divination techniques, and as the years progress, I'm learning more and more in magic, but for now, I can safely say that I got the basics mostly covered, well, all of them covered actually, and I'm just looking to expand my knowledge as I grow. I want to share my knowledge with others, and hopefully I can bring more magic into this world, bring more pagan understanding into this world, because with it we can change our whole culture on how we are, who we are, and hopefully get into a better age, especially getting out of this age of darkness, the Kali Yuga. So let's get straight into the video. And I got my notes here, and you always know it gets serious when I get my notes, so let us just start with the most obvious thing. Well, to me it's obvious. We have Pluto, Mars, Sun, Mercury, and Venus in Aquarius right now, and Mars just recently moved into Aquarius, which brings a sort of aggression to an already revolutionary type of sign, Aquarius here. Someone who is very, how could you say, revolutionary minds. I wanted to say lefty-minded, and in a way it is actually what we're seeing here. So with the recent events in Minnesota, we're seeing people being very emotional about what has happened there, and especially on the left side of the spectrum. So having Sun, Mercury, and Venus in here is not very unusual. These planets very often come in the same sign, but having Pluto here and just recently Mars entering it, we have something that carries a deep transformational type of energy to it, coupled with a lot of action, energy, and aggression, which in itself might not be the big issue here in this whole transit, what I'm going to speak of, namely the Neptune transiting into Aries, which, let's just jump straight to that point. So we got an outer sign conjunction with Saturn, and as I said, Neptune moving into Aries. It does have a very, secessionist type of energy, just simply for the cause, simply being because that Saturn and Neptune, they were previously in Pisces. Well, at the moment of this recording, they are still in Pisces, and Pisces, as well as Neptune, are all about the illusion, and Saturn being absolutely conjunct with Neptune, it is about the dissolution, the restraining of these illusions. So in plain speak, that is all about disillusionment. So in the past we have seen that um, the left, or perhaps sort of like center-left people, have been very disillusioned by what, for example, the Biden administration has been doing, and they switched sides. So that was a part of their disillusionment. Then the other side, there seems to have been promises that cannot be held. Whether that is a deep state thing or not is not clear, and probably never will be clear. But just think of the Epstein files and how many MAGA people have actually burned their MAGA hats. So this is absolutely a time of disillusionment, and with Neptune now moving into Aries with more energy and more of an aggression type, and still being um, an out of sign conjunction, this still will go on as long as Saturn is still transiting in Pisces, but takes a much more explosive turn once Neptune fully hits Aries. To the next point, we do have here, as soon as the transit happens, that Neptune is then therefore in opposition to Saturn, and it is not a direct opposition yet, but will be so in the coming months ahead. And this is where I see where AI might now become too realistic, so to speak. So people will be doubting what is real and what is not, and people will put an emphasis on things that are not so important, will an overemphasis, so to speak, and the things that are important will a little bit be ignored. So, in essence, the media here might be pushing narratives that have absolutely no consequence, and the things that are in the background are actually things that are most important. There might be legislations being pushed out, which might have very real consequences for people without them actually knowing that much. And obviously, this with being AI being so powerful nowadays, and people will question everything. The things that are real will be questioned, and things that are not real will not be questioned, and vice versa. It will all be a wild mix-up. So expect what you would call deep fakes to become very prominent from end of January on forward. So my next note is that yes, we have this has been ongoing for a while now. We have a Chiron transiting Chiron conjunction. So Chiron, the wounded healer in mythology, I think anyone who listens to a lot of astrology podcasts, videos, and the like will probably hear this again and again, because Chiron is a little bit overlooked by some astrologers. And so we're sort of like always introducing the theme of Chiron. So the wounded healer, that is someone, you can imagine that he received some kind of wound in his past, and because of this wound, he is the one to take the lessons from what he learned and try to heal others. And as found in Greek mythology, the centaur, Chiron is the one, I think he got shot with an arrow or something, and his wound never healed, but he had become a great healer, therefore. So, the Chiron conjunction. So this is a lot about themes of coming to the forefront of what has been hurting the American people, especially. And so, and this is a time where great reflection can happen and great healing can happen. So, but until that time is, and that transit is finished, there is this wound there and will be festering. And now, it's not necessarily said that the wound will be healed, or it actually does. It's just not if it will be in a good way or not. And this is where I see something else happening with Jupiter, a Jupiter transit happening in the 8th house. So themes of darkness, death, rebirth, of perhaps even unseen forces within the United States, sort of like perhaps what has been always termed like a shadow government or the deep state. So this here is currently transiting the 8th house with all these dark themes, and it's happening in Cancer. Um, Unfortunately, Cancer is very heavy, very emotional, and it doesn't seem like it's going to turn out good. However, over the course of the next few months, we will see Jupiter entering into Leo, which is taking these exact themes and putting it into the Leo energy. Leo is very optimistic, is very joyous, is very light. So I see at the same time the Chiron conjunction here being resolved in a very good manner. So as heavy as everything feels now, and perhaps there will be some very heavy conflict up until that point. Yes, it will be resolved in a very, hopefully, very joyous way. But there are other dark themes coming up, so it is very hard to say what the transits will actually then hold for us in the long run. But I do feel that we will have a positive outcome. The theme of deception and lies is soon ending, and it really depends on if this explosive energy really transmutes into something of a hot war within the United States. I see the conflict coming up, most definitely. But I really hope that the United States can survive its own Pluto return cycle, which it is in right now. So the Pluto return is that point in history of nearly all nations, empires, states that most nations do not survive. Pluto takes 249 years approximately to make a full circle around the sun. And Pluto, with its themes of death and rebirth, gives us exactly that for a nation. Meaning that an empire or a state normally never survives this, or if they do, they are transformed completely. And I really love the example of Rome, actually, because we actually see every 250 years a complete change of the nature of Rome. I mean, we might not necessarily see it with the United States immediately, but in hindsight, it's definitely will make sense, because I definitely see that some of these Pluto returns for Rome wouldn't have made that much sense. Some definitely, like the first time it had its Pluto return, Rome was a small nation with actually not much of an ambition to form an empire. It just survived like many other city-states. Then it threw away its king. That was supposedly 510 BCE. So it was a great change already. So they were a kingship, and then they transformed into a republic. The second round, it was still a republic, but still not very expansionist as we know Rome. So the people might have been much more reluctant to say that they were in a Pluto return. The next cycle was right around Julius Caesar to Augustus, and from the Republic to the Empire. And that was a big change. And this is sort of where I see the United States right now. It could very well be that the United States ceases to be a republic and changes to be something more akin to an empire. If it plays its cards right, it will become an empire. If it does not and holds on to um, democracy, it will fall, because democracy is only a very it's a time limited offer, so to speak. People praising democracy is a little bit of a brainwashing you got. Um, Not as bad as the communist one, because that's even worse. Um, I'm not here giving any solutions. I just, as a magician, always stand outside of politics, so to speak. So, um, while things might sound nice on paper, like democracy, it can turn into a complete mess, like we're seeing right now with the classical, well, the Western democracies right now. They're uh, an absolute sham at this point. And we had nations under kings and um, Caesars and all kinds of sort of like uh, monarchy rule that was definitely much more beneficial to us. And at times that was bad too. So there's never um, a solution that fits for all times. So, but democracy is one of the flimsiest of all of the solutions. And if the left is right about Donald Trump in the way that they're trying to portray him as a dictator, that would actually be, um, from a historical point of view, I'm putting out there, would be the best survival mechanism. And, well, the left like to portray him as a dictator, but want to impose a dictator. That's what the left does. They lie through their teeth. They're the most despicable creatures that have ever walked on this planet. I would rather live in an evangelical Christian country than in a leftist country, to put it bluntly and to be honest. Especially because the occult goes hidden, and so it might very well be a thing that we'll be forced to hide in next few decades, years perhaps even. And I'm not necessarily against it, because I see these modern witches, especially United States based, that are completely unhinged. You can smell the antidepressants through their reels, and you can feel that half of them will go evangelical Christian and the other one will go OnlyFans crack whore style. So, bringing a bit more seriousness to magic and astrology would be very helpful. I don't want to be burned at the stake, obviously, but these are things we might not have to worry about so soon, and if we do, then that's just a sign of the Dark Ages. If you want your personal Astrology read, your natal chart, your upcoming transits. You may want to do a wedding plan or another important dates. My specialty being astrolocality, so where do you thrive in the world? Which place should you move to, or even just go on a vacation to? Especially for my German viewers, you're not allowed to pay me money to move to another country. You're only allowed to pay me money um, to go on holiday. Wink, wink. So yeah, it's not allowed in Germany for some reason. Really nuts. But anyway, if you want your chart read on a Zoom call, one-on-one, or maybe just a chart, just a short file sent over by email, you can contact me at starsandwands@gmx.net, and you can visit my website, link down below. And in that sense, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.